Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to the channel and happy Friday to you all. Today I'm going to be breaking down the NHL DFS slate for February 17th. We got ourselves a 5-game slate here tonight where I'm going to go through a couple of my favorite line stacks, some of my favorite individual plays, and some of my favorite value plays, and then we'll wrap up today's video talking a little prize picks. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And we're going to kick things off here like we always do in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. Now we got one of these games coming in with an implied total of 7 goals between the Rags and Oilers. We got 2 games here at 6.5, 1 game at 6 goals even, and then the Stars and Wild coming in at 5.5. And then take a look down here at the Vegas odds where you can see each team who's favored to win tonight. And then here's a schedule update to wrap up this week. Last video here for this week, and a reminder, take a look in the bottom right hand corner. We got the notes there. It is President's Day on Monday, and for me here in Denver, Colorado, the NHL games start at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Really doesn't make sense for me to make a video there just because I can only get it out for a couple of hours, and a lot of foot traffic doesn't make its way to that video. With that being said though, I will be in the Discord talking some NHL DFS picks as well as some prize picks, and if you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. With that being said, let's dive into a couple of line stacks that I like here for tonight, starting with that first line for the New York Rangers. We got Zibanejad centering Kreider and Tarasenko. Now really, I think the top 3 lines for the Rangers are sitting pretty nice right now. That second line, you got Trocheck and Panarin playing together. VC on the right wing, I really don't have a lot of interest in that, but you can do a little mini stack with Trocheck and Panarin, or even that third line, the kid line with Hedel centering Lafreniere and Kakko. There's definitely some interest there for me, especially if I'm looking to go the cheaper route, but this first line did stick out to me, largely due to Mika Zibanejad's price here at $6,900. I'm not entirely sure why he is this cheap, but I will take advantage of it. This is a guy who's floated in the mid 7K range this year and even in the 8K range, and it's not like he's playing bad hockey right now, so I'm not sure why he got the price discount, but again, I will take advantage of that. Same thing here with Kreider, someone who usually floats in the mid 6K range. He hasn't been putting up massive numbers as of late, but again, I'll take the slight discount. And then Tarasenko here, obviously new to the Rangers team, played 13 minutes in his first 2 games, but we saw him play 17 minutes last game, so I do like to see the increased ice time. And again, this game here just has a lot of shootout potential between the Rags and Oilers, obviously with the implied total of 7 goals. Oilers have by no means been a defensive juggernaut this year, allowing 3.22 goals per game, with the league's 6th worst penalty kill, just hitting at a 74.6% rate. We'll see Zibanejad and Kreider play up on the number 1 power play, and then Tarasenko plays down on the second. Now that was a rather lengthy sales pitch there to play that first line for the New York Rangers, so we'll keep it a little more simple here with this second line for the Los Angeles Kings. A cheaper line stack in a great matchup against the Anaheim Ducks. We got Danault centering Moore and Arvidsson. Now we know this Ducks team, one we've been picking on all year long, one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL. In fact, they've allowed a league-high 4.13 goals per game and a league-high 39 shots on net per game this season. They've also taken the second most minor penalties in the NHL this year, and we got all 3 of these guys who play on that number 2 power play, and LA definitely isn't afraid to break up their top 2 power plays, so these 3 here will definitely see time on the special teams tonight. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. And don't forget, I am running that Discord channel too, and if you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. Alright, now diving into some of my favorite individual plays here, we're going to kick it off with the forwards, and the first guy I got there is Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators. Now, a lot of people are going to be talking about Alex DeBrincat here today of the Senators. You got the revenge narrative against his former team in the Chicago Blackhawks, and for what it's worth, I think DeBrincat is a fine play. He's actually the same price as Stützle at $6,600. He plays on the second line, plays on the number 1 power play, and really should log similar minutes here tonight to Stützle. But for me, why not go with the guy on the first line, plays on the number 1 power play, logs 20 plus minutes, but's going to come in at lower ownership, or likely will. That's the route that I'm going to go here. Stützle's been awesome this year, 55 points in 49 games. That trend has not slowed down here as of late. 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points here in his past 10, with 4 points on the power play, while averaging around 3 shots on net per game. If you want to go with DeBrincat, like I said, I think that's a fine play too, but I love the matchup for Ottawa here tonight at home against the Chicago Blackhawks, a team that struggled defensively all year long, allowing 3.64 goals per game, the 5th most in the NHL, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 76.1% rate. I then got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins there of the Edmonton Oilers, and he has rarely played up on the first line with McDavid this year, but he played almost 30% of his 5-on-5 shifts last game up on the first line with Hyman and McDavid. If that's going to be the case again here tonight, it's really hard to ignore him at this price of $6,300. This game here between them and the Rags, we talked about it, a lot of high scoring potential. The Rangers are playing great hockey after the break. They have won 5 straight games since the All-Star break. But their defensive side of the game hasn't been fantastic. They're just scoring a lot of goals. They've allowed 3.20 goals per game in their last 5, with a penalty kill that's hit at just a 77% rate. And the Edmonton Oilers have the best power play in the NHL. And Nugent-Hopkins has been putting up some really good numbers here as of late. 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points in his past 10, while averaging around 2.5 shots on net per game. And 8 of those 13 points have come on the power play. Next, I got Brock Nelson there of the New York Islanders. Now, they got the Penguins at home here tonight. It sounds like Casey DeSmith is going to be starting for the Penguins again. And it's really hard to say what type of goaltender you're going to get out of him. He could allow 4 or 5 plus goals here tonight and look like an AHL goaltender, or stand on his head, be a brick wall, and save 40 of 41 shots. So it's really hard to tell what type of goaltender you'll get out of Casey DeSmith tonight. But what I do know is Brock Nelson's playing some really good hockey right now for the New York Islanders. 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points here in his past 10 games. Really like the way that he's shooting the puck as well, averaging close to 3.5 shots on net per game. And for what it's worth, he's just played very well against Pittsburgh here since 2018. You can see he's racked up 9 goals, 9 assists, 18 points in his last 18 games against the Pens. And then I got Joel Eriksson Ek and Matt Boldy there of the Minnesota Wild. Now, it's not often, for those of you who have been watching my videos, you guys know this, that I don't typically just highlight forwards in the 5 to 6K range. I like to mix in some guys in the 4K range, maybe pick out one guy in the 7 to 8K range, but for me tonight on this 5-game slate, most of the value, and for what it's worth, some really good value, is sitting in the 5 to 6K range. So that's where I'll be looking to spend most of my money at the forward position here tonight. I like doing a little mini pairing here, or a mini stack with Joel Eriksson Ek and Matt Boldy of the Minnesota Wild. Yeah, it's definitely not the easiest of matchups here tonight at home against the Dallas Stars, a solid defensive team. But on a 5-game slate like this, these are 2 guys that should have lower ownership, but still have some really nice upside. If we take a look at their last 10 games here, you can see Eriksson Ek's put up 10 points, Matt Boldy's put up 8 himself, and both are really shooting the puck at a high rate, and I love to see that. Plus, both these guys not only play on the second line together, getting a lot of time 5-on-5, but they also play on the number 1 power play together. Now, moving over here to the defensemen, top 3 guys. Most of you know the plan of attack here. If you're new to the video, though, essentially what I'm doing is stacking these 3 guys up with forwards on the same power play. So we got Thomas Chabot here of the Ottawa Senators in a great matchup at home against Chicago. Makes sense to stack him up with guys like Tim Stützle or Alex DeBrincat. You could even do a 3 or 4 man stack on that number 1 power play as well. The Senators have the 2nd best power play in the NHL this year. Now, the Islanders haven't thrived as much on the power play as the Ottawa Senators, but Noah Dobson is very solid. He's a solid offensive defenseman, and you can stack him up with someone like Brock Nelson, or again, really anyone on that number 1 power play. The Penguins have not been very good here on the penalty kill since the All-Star break, just hitting at a 77% rate. And then Sean Durzi, great matchup here against the Anaheim Ducks. You could stack him up with any one of those forwards that I highlighted earlier on that second line for the Los Angeles Kings, or hell, play all 4 of them, considering the Los Angeles Kings could by all means score 4+ goals in this matchup tonight and get on the power play several times, considering the Anaheim Ducks take the 2nd most minor penalties in the NHL. And of course, I've got some honorable mentions here as well. We got Spurgeon there of the Minnesota Wilds, played some of his best hockey of the season over the last month. We got K'Andre Miller there of the New York Rangers, Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. He's been mixing in on that number 1 power play for the Oilers as of late, so I really like to see that. Mikey Anderson there of the LA Kings, who just got paid. And then Brainstorm, it sure as hell ain't Brainstorm. It's Brandstrom there of, it's spell checking, that's that's why I did it. Brandstrom of the Ottawa Senators, currently playing on that number 2 power play. He's the bare minimum price at $2,500. And then I got a couple of goaltenders there for you. 2 guys here kind of in the mid 7K range. First being Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders, who's been fantastic at home this year. Yes, the Islanders record doesn't necessarily show how well he's played, but his numbers, you can see him there. Goals allowed average of 1.99 and a save percentage of .934. Those are absolutely fantastic, averaging 17 DraftKings points per game. And then Philip Gustafsson here of the Minnesota Wild, he doesn't have the best record either, just 12-8-2 on the season, but overall his numbers are awesome. He's got a goals allowed average of 2.18 and a save percentage of .926. Those are both actually the second best in the NHL this year. And then to wrap up the spreadsheet here, I got 3 low-priced options or sub-4K forward plays, but folks, take these plays here with a grain of salt. I really don't love the player pool at the forward position below $5,000 tonight, and in fact, it might be one of the grossest slates I've seen all year long for forwards in the 2 to 3K range, so I'll just be spending up at this position in general, but obviously, I'm not going to forget this part of the video either, something we've talked about all year long. So the first 2 players I want to highlight here below 4K are actually with the Chicago Blackhawks in Tyler Johnson and Taylor Radish. I actually don't even mind the matchup here tonight against Ottawa. Chicago in general really just doesn't score a lot of goals, so I usually don't highlight too many of their players. But as a cheap contrarian mini stack, I kind of like Tyler Johnson and Taylor Radish tonight, with both those guys playing on the second line in number 1 power play. Johnson's got 6 goals, 10 assists, 16 points in 27 games this year. Radish has 14 goals, 10 assists, 24 points in 53 games, but he's actually tied for first on the Chicago team with 14 goals. Again, kind of shows the lack of scoring ability on the Chicago team, and he's second on the team in expected goals, so he could definitely find the back of the net. And then I got Quentin Byfield there of the Los Angeles Kings in the middle. He's currently playing up on that first line with Kopitar and Kempe, and playing on the number 1 power play as well. He's still finding his bearings a little bit in the NHL after being recalled from the AHL, but he does have 4 assists here in his last 6 games, and it really is an opportunity play up on that first line in number 1 power play. And then to wrap up this video here, want to talk a little prize picks with you guys. As you all know, I give you my final picks in a comment below on this video, and I'll be sure to pin that comment as well. I do post those picks in my Discord channel too. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below. I just got to go through and do my research here today, but it actually looks like the full set of picks might be out already, so I'm going to try and do that here early this morning and get those out to you guys as soon as possible. But if you have not signed up for Prize Picks yet and you want to get in on this action, I got a promo code that you should definitely take advantage of. When you're signing up, use my promo code GRIFF. GRIFF, and Prize Picks will give you all the way up to a $100 match deposit. Now, you do not have to put $100 in either. If you want to put in 50, they'll match 50. You want to put in 20, they'll match that $20, and again, we'll match anything up to $100 as long as you're using my promo code GRIFF. GRIFF upon signing up. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks. Let's win some money on this 5-game slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.